I'd like to call the meeting to order. Board of Leavenworth County Commissioners. I'd like to invite everyone to stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to start with a moment of silence and like to ask everyone to remember the former mayor of Easton, Bobby Watkins, passing. Roll call. All commissioners are present today. No one is absent. I'd like to open up the public comment portion of our meeting. A citizen desiring to speak on an item that is directly relevant to the county commission business may do so at this time. A speaker shall refrain from making personal, rude, or slanderous remarks against any person. Individuals, personnel issues, and pending legal matters shall not be discussed in open meetings, including the citizen comment portion of the meeting. There'll be a 5-minute limit on any public comment. So anyone wishing to have public comment, please come forward, state your name.
Mr. Commissioner, I would like to ask a request that your
You'll have to come up here to the podium, please, so we can get it recorded.
I'd just like to make a request that your rule of 5 minutes possibly be suspended today. I don't think anybody comes here to waste your time or our time, either one. That's not what our purpose is, but it's important information that we make the effort to be here, and it's the same for you. I know you guys are busy people too. I just feel like what I would like to talk about today will take at least 5 minutes, and if 5 minutes is all we have, that doesn't allow anyone else time to talk. So that's all I want to say.
If you have something that needs to be more than 5 minutes, I'd ask that you'd get it on the agenda.
I think to clarify something, it's 5 minutes per person. It's not a total of 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
5 minutes per person?
Yes.
5 minutes per person,
Okay,
yes.
all right. How y'all doing? My name's Kelly Angel. I reside at 22129 219th Street in Leavenworth County. I have a business at 19228 McLouth Road, also known as K16 Highway. And you've already basically voted on this, so I just come for my last attempt. You're charging me a TIF for using a KDOT highway, and I don't see that that's fair. I've already went to a couple other people that I'm friends with. We've got Gretchen Meitler that has a daycare on 2440 out south of Tonganoxie, and hers was suspended. She don't have to pay it due to the fact that it's on a KDOT highway. And then you got Jack Willis. He's got a piece of property on K32. Both of them said they'd come up and speak for me on K32, and his was suspended because he's on a KDOT, and that is residential, so I do understand that one. But just to prove to you that I don't use that entrance that's right there on Hatchell Road, I've got concrete bollards in front of it. We don't use it. It's too dangerous to go out on the highway there, and I couldn't take a right and use your county road if I wanted to, due to the fact that it's too sharp of an angle. So my equipment couldn't go down there. Only thing I ever used that for was my employee entrance. Now, granted, I have no employees right now. I'm disabled, but when I did use it, it was only for employees. My equipment never went out of there. I got more traffic from the county parking their dump trucks and their stuff in my parking lot than I actually use, which I told them that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. So I'm just coming up to say, hey, do I really got to pay $1,767.86 to use KDOT highway? According to Leroy at KDOT, he says, no, you cannot charge, Leavenworth County cannot charge to use a KDOT highway. He says, now we can do a traffic study and put a fee on you for using our highway if we feel that you got too much traffic coming in. And he said, I know exactly where you're at, and you don't have hardly any traffic. And so that's why I'm up here. I mean, it's all up to you guys. If you say no, I'll go over and pay my $1,700 and just keep my mouth shut. This is my last final attempt.
Well, we can't make any vote or action on it. We've
Right.
had to have it on the agenda.
Okay, can we put it on agenda? I mean, is that possible? Is it even feasible? If you,
Well, I never have agreed with collecting a TIF fee on state highway. I mean,
I,
What
according
was
to
the first person you cited?
Gretchen Meitler,
the daycare
The
we
daycare that came
approved
in.
south of Tonganoxie on Chieftain Road.
But that, what was unique about that was actually an extension of an existing property, right? There was an additional parcel.
see, my
The
property.
business didn't change, or the use didn't change, just.
My property's been there since, I think, 1964, and it's always been a business. They've never assessed any traffic impact fee, RIF or TIF, in all that time. Now, I got there and I thought, well, I'm gonna do something right. I'm gonna go to the front of Leavenworth County and just say, hey, I probably need a special use permit because my construction company's out back. And so I did that, just to be straight across the board, and now I'm getting fined to use a KDOT highway. I already pay over $15,000 a year in taxes, so you can look that up. So why do I pay again to use a gravel road when it's only my employees on a personal vehicle that lives in Leavenworth County, and that's the only thing that goes on that gravel road? I just come back from Falls City, Nebraska. I've been up there for almost a year doing an O'Reilly's. I do commercial work. I don't do any residential anymore. I turn it all down. I don't use you guys' gravel roads. I mean, that's my argument. And you know, if you can get me on agenda, I'll come back, and if you can't, I'll go over and pay it right now.
Well, remind me, we've talked about the policy specific to special use permits, and there being a fee maybe associated with more of a business rather than the traffic that's being generated, whether it's on a county road or a state road. But I'm assuming, like most things, that's still a fluid
Yeah, just, I
discussion, no changes.
think it was just a couple of weeks ago, actually maybe a month ago, where we brought that up, where we talked about in a work session, the traffic impact fees and how they're applied, and that we're going to review the application of those towards certain businesses that, based on traffic count, some businesses wouldn't pay any fee, some would pay a flat fee, and then others would have to do a full traffic analysis of their impact on the roads. Now, I understand the concern about paying on a state highway. The traffic impact is, those state highways run through the county, but a lot of the traffic is coming off and on our roads to get to those state highways, and that's what the impact fee is for. But I don't know the particular case with Mr. Angel's property because I'm not familiar with this business specifically, but we do have a policy. The policy has been followed currently. We're in the process of evaluating that policy and bringing back changes. That's all I can say right now.
My point is, the only traffic that comes on your gravel road that gets to a state highway is people that live in Leavenworth County that already pay taxes yearly for their property and for the road improvements. So it's basically double dipping as far as I'm concerned.
For us to take any action, you have to get it on the agenda.
Okay, well, that's fine. Can I get it up? How do I do that?
Speak to Mr. Lawfrey.
Is this something we need to, does he need to pay this right now and we would do a reimbursement, or can we let him wait?
I think the use permit's already been approved
Yes.
with the impact fee as a condition of the use permit. So that's where
since
it's
we're
at.
gonna-
So it's
we're gonna
already
work
been
on
before the
this.
board
Yeah.
recently.
Do I need to
When was it?
protest?
How long ago was that?
That's what I'm trying to
Mark,
find out.
this is in accordance with our policy currently, correct?
Yes.
I mean, this is the way we assess.
Yeah, it came to the board, how long ago did you come in for your application? 3 months?
I
So,
remember you being.
so 3 months ago, this came before the board, they approved it with the fee, and that was the policy.
But it wasn't being required, there was no
Didn't request a waiver at that time.
discussion or request a waiver at that time.
So what we're saying is this was policy set by the board before us, and we're gonna talk about this, and this is one of the things we're working on, and like, Doug's saying, maybe address if it's on KDOT, should you pay them or not, but I'm just trying to figure out, should you go ahead and pay this and reimburse you, or can you not pay it for right now? Until we figure out, have our work session on this or whatever.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Culberson, other members of the board. Mr. Angel has contacted me on this issue, and Mr. Angel's a longtime businessman located in Leavenworth County. Given the length of time that his business has operated, and Kelly, you're not operating right now?
Not at this point.
Okay. Perhaps the board could grant him an indulgence to forego the payment of the fee until such time as he becomes active, or the board considers the request as part of a policy review on the issue of traffic impact fees.
That's what I was trying to figure out.
Okay, well, it'd have to be put on the agenda that way. So, okay, that'll work. All right.
Thank you.
Sir, would you like to come up and take your 5 minutes to explain what you would like to get on the agenda?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
My name is Timothy Nye. I live in Leavenworth County at 16259 158th Street. I'd like to start by saying what I'm going to talk about today, I don't consider your problem. I consider it our problem. And I can't see it being put on a, what do you call it, a work session or a agenda, whatever you call it, because these situations that I'm talking about, there's no way to control when they happen. I'm a retired teacher. I have a background in driver education, safety training. I've taught driver education to teens and adults for 15 years. The last 7 years, I operated my own commercial driver education business. I do not claim to be a roadway engineering expert. However, I believe God has given me at least reasonable common sense. I've logged over 50 years driving on our American roadway system. I'd like you to listen to this, Chairman. My family and I have lived and raised our family on our Leavenworth family homestead for 40 years. Over the past 4 years, we have personally witnessed or felt the repercussions of at least 8 separate vehicle situations on the roadway in front of our home. I have 2 pictures I'll give you to share. I don't have the technology to do the overline. This is the only pictures they will allow me to take of this particular. This is the latest situation. It happened on the 24th of October in front of our house. Two of these situations this year have resulted in fatalities. Because of my training, I keep going over and over and over in my head what is causing this surge in roadway problems and what we can do about it. I do say we. I can no longer stand idly by nor allow you to continue to ignore this problem. As I have said, I have given thought into what may be contributing to our problem. This is not an exhaustive list of solutions. However, it does get us away from ignoring the problem. First is signs. While not the answer, signs are at least a quick answer. Drivers at least have a warning in which to respond accordingly. I've taken upon myself to have made and installed warning signs in my field. I'll show you an example of when I've took it down. There's no more up there. This is the sign I asked for. I'll show everyone so they can see what we're talking about. There's a shoulder drop-off, a bad one. I think that's an easy solution. The signs are not where they need to be, which is next to the roadway on your easement where drivers at night can see them. I have just placed them on my field, in my field, and I did that. Second, addressing this situation is enforcement. People still need to be held accountable for their actions. And lastly, and most important, road constructions. I will focus on 158th Street and 166th Street because I'm most familiar with these roadways. 158th Street has a crowned shoulder of the road. A normal crown road is like this. The middle is raised and it allows the water to runoff on the sides. On that particular roadway, the edge is crowned. So we have a crowned edge of the road, and so when someone gets over on that edge, it pulls everybody toward the edge of the road. I've got pictures of the edge of the road where these last two fatalities, it's pretty easy to see. This is a picture right at the edge where I believe both of them happened. I'll show you this. "166th Street. Unbelievable. It's called a dust abatement roadway. This is a sign that's on the roadway. It's a dust abatement roadway. It has a 9-inch lip drop off. I couldn't believe that. I had to go back again to remeasure that to make sure my measurements are right. This is 9 inches. 9 inches from the top of the roadway to where on the side to the bottom. All it is a layer of asphalt 9 inches deep with no shoulder. That's, in my opinion, like I said, that's no way to build a road, but that's, like I said, I'm not an expert. I'll show you a couple pictures of that roadway. Here's the 9-inch drop. And there's a couple of places, you drive down that roadway, and you can see where people have been off that roadway and scraped because the tire gets off the edge of the road and they scrape along the side. You can see, it's real easy to see where it's happened. Here's two pictures here.
Mr. Nye, your time's up, and it's good you came today because we are going to approve a grant application for KDOT to look at our local roads and come up with a safety plan. Am I correct on that?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Then we'll close public comment and move on to administrative business. Any administrative business at this time?
Just a couple of things. The house, the property that we acquired across the street, we're moving forward with that. I believe the county councilor has plans today to go get the demolition permit or make application for it at least. And we have filled out the application to make it a tax exempt property. So just wanted a quick update. It is moving forward.
Okay.
The other thing, I will be asking for an executive session at the end of the meeting today. Just wanted to put that out front for non-elected personnel.
Okay.
Don't expect any action afterwards.
Okay. Then we'll move on to consent agenda. Any commissioners had a chance to look at the consent agenda? Any questions, concerns, or corrections of anything? The only thing is, I believe that gentleman's last name that was here last week is Mr. Armstrong, not Anderson. And I might be wrong on that. I'm pretty sure.
It was, I think it was.
Yeah, it's
it
Mr.
was
Armstrong.
No, it's Anderson.
Oh, it's Anderson?
Because he's related to somebody from the railroad that I
Oh,
used to know.
okay. All right.
Charlotte
That's what I was saying.
Anderson.
I must be thinking of
So it
someone
was
else.
Anderson.
Okay. All right.
Then I make a motion.
Just one quick one, sorry. I should have spoke up before Doug did. There was an expense to Olson on page 11 for around $25,000. I know they're doing a ton of different services and projects for us. That seemed for the engineering services to help us with our, personnel issue, a lot higher than what I had anticipated. I mean, if you think about it as like a, monthly expense with budgeted hours. So I just wanted to make sure I understood what it was. The detail behind it, so.
It's exactly what you stated. It's an expense associated with the engineering services that we requested. We have a lot going on right now, so they have a lot of different people being utilized for our services.
So it's just what we've requested above and beyond what we had preliminarily budgeted at 40 hours a week or whatever that number was.
Yeah, I think we budgeted for an overall expenditure amount not to exceed, but we have, I mean, they they probably have 3 or 4 people working on projects for us at any given time right now. So, I think during that time frame would have been establishing the guidelines for the traffic study, for the sand plant, would have been a review of the Eisenhower project. I think I sent an update on that last week, possibly even. So we believe that's accurate billing. It's
Okay.
not unexpected.
Okay.
Any other questions or concerns? I'll entertain a motion, to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
Have a motion, have a second? Okay. Have a motion and a second, any further discussion? Voting?
Aye.
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 We will move on to Public Works. Warren, how are you today?
Good morning, Commissioners. I am good.
Good morning.
Hey, can I just ask you a question before?
Sure.
we start? On this 158th Street, I know we had discussed signage, looking at the signage, and you're going to bring us up to date on that. But is there also a policy on guardrails that you have to follow, or procedure for placing guardrails, or a way they study it, or how's that typically done?
Sure, there are regulations for just about everything, but we do not have any within the county for guardrails. We do not typically place guardrails along roadways. We have many roads, as he said, with drop-off similar to this. That I am aware of, we do not have any regulations.
That's
We have,
called the MUTCD manual.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Steve, and other members of the commission, Mr. Nye brings to you an issue that is certainly deserving of your study and consideration, and it's, I think it should be appreciated that he does so. At the same time, however, engineering considerations are best done on a level of careful study and by engineers. I would simply caution the board to not, and I hate, please don't take it, to not presume that you're engineers, and further that I believe Mr. Nye has requested that these 2 roads and the situation of them be studied. Perhaps the most appropriate action would be to direct Public Works to undertake a review of this and a comprehensive review and determine whether action is necessary under the appropriate standards such as the MUTCD regarding signage, the applicable engineering standards regarding design, and take such action as appropriate. My caution is that I would prefer to not have, as Anderson, give opinions without adequate preparation, Commissioner, because you do have a duty, a non-delegable duty to maintain safe roadways, and considerations of that topic are deserving, I think, of a very detailed and careful study.
So, well, I just wanted to find out what the procedure was and what the rules are. The second thing is, just to make a point, is Mark on his table in his office had that stretch of roadway where Mr. Nye lives, and I believe we looked, and prior to this latest fatality, there had been 4 fatalities in the same area. So this, was it 4 or 3?
Yeah.
It was injury.
I believe there's. yeah,
Injury
there's-
accidents at that
Or
location.
accidents.
But now
Accidents, yeah.
we've had, I think the way it should be stated is we've had 2 fatalities in less 3 months now in that area, and an abundance of injury accidents on that same stretch of road within the last.
I would have to look into what
And-
those regulations are and is.
This is not changing the subject, but I know that I've had conversations with the sheriff, I've had conversations with Mark. I think like anything, you have to look at the full body of work,
Correct.
right? So as a county, our job is to track and record accidents, injury or otherwise. And I think by those totals, it's going to give you some direction as to where you have more problematic sites. And then you know where to engage those engineering services. And well said, Counselor, I think we should allow engineers to be engineers and not pretend. I agree. So we sometimes have an ability to try to put ourselves in that position, and unless we've gone to school for it, we
And
probably
Commissioner Shimke, I think, again, both Mr. Nye and Commissioner Stephen bring up a good point. That section of roadway should and will be studied and appropriate reports and action taken. But again, it should be done on a considered basis.
And I completely agree with that. I don't think we should place ourselves in your position, but at the same point, people are very, very concerned about that area, and they do want to know that we are taking it seriously.
And I was just going to add that while we're talking about this and while Mr. Nye was in here, several years ago, Planning, Zoning, and Public Works and the sheriffs got our county GIS to do a project for logging all the accidents on the roads. And the purpose of that was to point out dangerous intersections and dangerous sections of roadways so we could see if they needed any improvements like line of sight or signage or some road work or something like that. So the county has proactively built an accident map to address exactly what he's talking about. So they're actually,
And we need to use.
And you might consider picking up a copy of that.
they're actually working on it, so.
Yeah, I don't believe we have anything
Do they
officially
have any
published
state
yet.
highways?
It's not public.
It's not a public,
No, I
well,
don't think we did the
it's
state.
probably
We didn't get the state
public
information.
You can totally feel free to ask the sheriff.
I don't believe that accident information is public
Yeah.
information.
And I don't know if
It's
KDOT
been my
has
understanding.
a map like that or not.
To
Yeah.
be honest with you, I hear it in I was in my bed asleep this last one. I hear it. I don't need any accident report. I've seen too many.
Right.
I've seen it. I don't need an accident.
Yeah.
8 in the last 4 years that I can count on, just in my person, and there's more, 8 that I know.
Well, that's why KDOT, we need to apply for all these high-risk rural road studies. That's, you know.
I think.
The last one we applied for, it just came up with the signage thing. I would,
I think the thing to keep in mind when you start talking about numbers of accidents, fatalities outside of this, but just numbers of accidents, you have to see if there's a statistical relevance, because you're looking at 3 years of data that show several accidents in a stretch of road, but there may be, during that same time, there may have been 700,000 vehicles driving through there. So, or 10 accidents.
Versus traffic count. Yeah.
Versus somewhere else where there's only, maybe 5,000 cars that went through there and had the same number.
And we don't know.
Right.
Those are the things that we look at.
The end result of
And
the
beyond that,
accident.
there can be an accident if it was due to speeding
Alcohol.
Driver
or
error.
Well, one
at what point
one thing we
it goes
noticed-
back to the accountability.
Well, and there's a
piece.
lot of animal strikes too, obviously, in the county, which,
Well, the biggest thing that stuck out in those reports is texting and driving was the biggest increase in that rate of accidents.
We just want people to know that we're really going to dig into it.
I think that's fair.
That's fair. Okay. All right. Lauren?
So we will actually end up getting to that KDOT one last. I'm just going to go in order for what's on the agenda currently. I'm currently bringing before you 3 change orders, contract and 2 change orders. The first is for a extension of services from MHS. The initial contract was expected to be 15 days for construction on County Road 1. MHS was hired to do the inspection services. It ended up running longer than that. It's my understanding that that initial 15-day was provided to us by the contractor, and therefore we provided that day to the inspection services. When construction ran long, the contract did state that if it did run long or if it did run short, they would be compensated such. So it overran by 11 days, and so they are asking for an additional $6,325.
So the contractor that did the work was the one that estimated what the inspection services number of days would take, even though they don't provide that service. It's a third party. It's a sub, some other group.
The contractor was the one, it is my understanding from a summary of what had happened from MHS. So it's my understanding that the contractor provided an estimate of days to the previous director, and the director gave him those days. He wanted the contract written by days instead of hours, and they were not estimated. They just worked off the estimate provided.
Right, I was just trying to figure out, was it our fault in that we underestimated it, or was the contractor substantially off their estimate? Because it's almost double. I mean, that's
Right.
crazy.
I would have to dig in a little bit more. Right now, I'm working on a he said, she said scenario.
Sure.
So I need to look into the contract and see if there was an estimated days, or if somewhere along the lines got crossed. But it was communicated to them to make it 15 days plus or minus.
And I know it wasn't, and I'm sounding like a broken record, but a week or two ago, we talked about this policy where we have a specified overage,
Correct.
right? And then again, if contingency,
Correct.
and if they're over it,
Right,
that's their problem.
yeah. And this one, you know.
Unless we change the scope, that's a
And
whole
we're
other.
talking about a change order for MHS, and I just want to be real clear that this is not on them. This is nothing that
Right.
they had control over. This was, we engaged them for services. The contract said, we think it's 15, if it's more, you'll get paid more. So I just want to be clear that for MHS, this is not their issue. The issue is, did the project take longer than we were anticipating because the contractor told us they were going to be done quicker, or because we just used an estimate and we weren't, we didn't know for sure, which is why we put the clause in there.
I'd say it
That's
took
what-
longer. They were supposed to do it the year before.
Well, and that's something that Lauren's looking into. Doesn't maybe have that answer right now. But again, that's not an MHS problem. It was a problem with the original contract, which was $800 and some thousand. And I'm not sure they subbed that out. I actually think the contractor does all their work
The
on that.
contractor does all their
This
work,
is-
yes,
Because it's a
correct.
special process. It's the mill and overlay, mill in place or overlay in place, whatever.
Yeah.
Recycle.
Hot in place
Recycling.
recycling.
Right. Okay, any other questions on MHS's, we'll call it change order? That's what it is. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the change order to extend construction inspection services for an additional 11 days, not to exceed $6,325.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Voting?
Aye.
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 Thank you, commissioners.
One, can we, or maybe this is a question for Mark, I don't know.
I think I'm
When
gonna,
when it comes to us, and then it seems like we're still doing further investigation, like, I don't even want to see it until the further investigation's been completed. Like, let's let the contractor sweat another 30 or 60 days, depending on whose fault it is. I mean, I realize unless we change the scope drastically, like, I understand
Yeah,
that.
in this
it
case,
can't
as you
always
said-
be black and white.
We don't feel that this is something that they should have to sweat as this was not their estimate, this was not their.
Yeah.
We directed them to write the contract for 15 days, and our contractor ran over. And so we didn't feel that they should be penalized for.
On this specific
that.
one.
On
On
that
this
one.
On
specific
this one.
one, this is not the contractor's issue. This is, they did the work as we asked them to do per contract.
So it's our fault.
Well, maybe not, but they did the work. MHS was just doing inspection services. The length of the project had nothing to do
Right,
with
but
MHS.
somebody provided
The-
the 15
the
days. Somebody did
next-
the estimate. And if the
Yeah.
contractor wasn't smart enough to ask the inspection services company what their estimate was, then somebody's at fault here.
Well,
The
That'll
inspec-
be B, we can talk
The-
about that one, and they want some more money.
This
out of
project
it,
was a
too.
proprietary,
the next item
Function, yeah.
is actually the one
That
that
ran
is
over.
the contractor.
Okay.
So.
yeah, and I think I share Commissioner Shimke's concerns, and I had a conversation with Mark about, it seems like we're getting an awful lot of change orders. It seems like change orders are becoming the norm,
It is.
and I was just wondering, is there a reason we're getting so many of these anymore?
Unfortunately, many of the change orders that I've been bringing before you, I have come to find that it was because previous administration within my office either didn't include a contingency for that 1 to 5% overrun, which should have been brought to you initially, so we didn't have to come back up to you every time to get additional funds approved, or they felt that we didn't need something or that we could handle it within the office. And especially now that we only have a single person in my office, along with Olson, it is money that has to come from somewhere that I don't have the capabilities to do within the office, and either we have to pay Olson additional funds or the designers additional funds who are already familiar with the projects, and it makes sense for them to continue moving forward with their projects. So those are where many of these change orders unfortunately are coming from. Moving forward in future projects, I will be addressing both of these, and myself and Olson are trying to get ahead of this in getting geotech or getting utility information and things like that. And those have been the change orders that have come before
Well, to be
you.
fair, don't sell yourself short. You're an army of one.
Right.
You're doing a great job.
I appreciate
job.
that, thank you.
I-
So yes, that's where the change orders are. And I'm hopeful that next year, my appearance up here will be far less often. No offense to you, but.
We hope so too.
So just to verify, I mean, you just said it, but verify, going forward,
Yes,
that situation has been resolved and we have the 2% or the 5% contingency
Yes.
in all of our contracts going forward.
yes. Unfortunately, something like this one that we just looked at probably will still have to come before you, as it was a significant extension of the initial anticipated time. But many of the others, this next one that we'll be looking at, many of the others that have come before you, including this next one, wouldn't exist if a contingency had been approved by you when we signed the contracts.
Thank you.
So that being said, the next one is a change order for additional expenses for Cutler Paving for the County Route 1 hot in place, mix and place recycle. As you can see, the initial contract is just over $1 million. The final construction contract is $9,981.34 over, which is just at 1%.
Right, which is great.
Right, which is
However,
phenomenal.
the inspection services, they missed by substantially more.
Correct, yes.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah,
$1 million, spot on.
and this project.
Just over
was
10
supposed
grand,
to-
way off.
This project was supposed to be completed in 2018. And it was done in 2019.
So Commissioners, I would ask that you approve this change order. So you know, we did not utilize all of the money that we've previously come to you for change orders for in the patching and a few other things. So this is the total, but in the grand scheme of all of the money that we have previously approved, it actually is just under $1,000.
And this amount was for the having to come back and repair, or?
This amount was for overruns of estimated materials and things like that. Small
And
amounts.
That's our fault because?
We price everything in unit, and it was an estimate, so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'd be critical of a 1% or less miss on that
Yeah,
size of
no, I
project.
was just-
Compared to everything else I've seen, so. I'll make a motion to approve the additional expense for the completion of County Road 1 hot cycle, hot mix in place recycle asphalt in the amount not to exceed $9,981.34.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Voting,
Aye.
Aye.
nay.
No.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Only because I voted against using this process anyway.
Oh, I voted against it because it was supposed to have been done in 19, if it would- or 18.
Right,
If it
but
would have been done in 18, maybe they wouldn't have had any overruns.
And I didn't ask for the
Agreed.
process.
A year makes a pretty big difference.
Yes.
Sometimes big difference.
It is my understanding that unfortunately the contract was signed by Michael Spiegelmeyer this year, though, so they weren't a full year behind, just for clarification. It just sounds like it was
Project
possibly.
was a year behind.
Yes.
It wasn't the contractor that was a
Right.
year behind.
Right. So the last thing before you, Commissioners, is a KDOT road safety, local road safety plan. And we had requested several years ago to be involved in this. And so the agreement is now in place, and we're asking that you approve that agreement for our participation within this program.
And we participated in it, I was hoping it was going to be construction that they were going to help fund on fixing high-risk rural roads.
But we need to identify them too.
Yeah,
Yes.
I
well,
mean,
they do.
I'm just saying,
But-
yeah.
So it will
But
be-
then I know, like I said, in the interim, it is signage.
Yep, it is identifying high-risk roads.
But I just noticed Jefferson County had received some funding to do some road construction and repairs on high-risk rural roads.
Is it a standard amount, in which case there's a cost share to it, or how did the original amount get?
I am not exactly sure how the amount came into play. It is my understanding that we were on to participate for 10% of the total fee of this. And so the amount that I have asked for is what they provided me with and the cost of
Right,
this.
but if I can get, 9 cents for every 1 cent, I'd like to maximize that type of program. Like, I'm trying to find out, how we chose the amount that we did, or could we have selected to choose a much higher dollar amount to share in which case, again, you're getting $9 for every dollar.
Oftentimes, the cost share programs are
That is-
set up by the state to
Got a cap,
say,
right.
if you would like to participate.
But I hate
it is-
assuming, I'd like to know what that
Yes,
cap
I
was.
would have to look into that. The contract came to me at a 10%.
So that means we're gonna get, 50 grand, and
Yeah,
if we could've got 250 grand,
Yeah.
sounds like a way better deal.
yeah, it would have been. Any other questions, Lauren?
This is strictly on our, no KDOT roads that they maintain
Right.
are covered. It's
Correct, these are
strictly
county
It's
roads.
a program
County roads.
They just got loads of extra money that we helped them acquire.
through city
That
county
they didn't
highway
give back to
fund.
us anyway.
Correct.
It was our money to begin with.
So I entertain a motion to approve the cost share plan.
Motion to approve Leavenworth County's participation in local road safety plan, project number 106C-4790-03, in the amount of $5,152.66.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the road safety plan cost share?
I just wanted to point out, this plays right into Mr. Nye's
Right.
conversation earlier, so if I could
Would
give
you
him
like a copy of this?
I was just gonna give him a copy of it.
The road safety,
What KDOT funds for to do high-risk rural roads and road safety plans?
We got a bunch of
Yeah,
copies, that is.
right, yeah. I thought you meant roads.
No.
Oh, we did. Okay, any further discussion and voting?
aye?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Commissioners.
Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you, Lauren.
Commissioner, I'll bring this back up to you later this afternoon, if that's all
Okay,
right.
that's fine.
Have a good day, Commissioners.
All right, thank you.
You just said you were trying to get up here last night, trying to get up here more.
Anything I can do to help the process speed along.
I hear you.
Thanks.
We're ready for planning and zoning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr.
Morning.
Chairman, Commissioners. I have before you a request to approve Resolution 2019-27. This is a special use permit for Country View Kennel. This kennel has been in operation for over 20 years. We've had a number of special use permits. There have never been any issues with it. There have never been any complaints from the neighbors. They're not requesting any changes. Mr. Kermashek is the property owner and the applicant. He's here, will answer any questions that you may have. The Planning Commission voted 8-0 with one member absent to recommend approval, and staff also recommends approval
Okay.
of this.
We'll open the public hearing on the Country View Kennels. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of the kennel? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition of the kennel? Seeing none, we'll close public hearing, return to regular session, and I'll consider a motion to approve Resolution 2019-27.
Crystal, I had two quick questions for you. One was just and I might have missed it, this will be for 10 years, where the last one was only for 5, correct?
Correct, yes,
Okay.
yes.
And then secondarily was, this isn't the first kennel special use permit we've had come in front of us, whether it's new, whether it's 5 years old or 25 years old. I think we've talked about just making sure that there are a number of conditions specific to how the facility is maintained and, so has that all been addressed or vetted in this process at all?
Yes, so they are required, they're licensed by the state, and they're required to meet the state requirements for licensing and such. So we are looking at this so they have to submit that
We're
information.
just doing it purely of the state's guidelines.
Right, yes, as far as like the maintenance of the kennel and such. We are concerned with the traffic and the noise and things such that would impact the direct
Now,
property
we had a
owners.
kennel come before us earlier this year, and we had our Humane Society people go out and look at it and that kind of thing.
Because they had raised some concerns.
Right.
Correct.
I'm sure that's not the case here, but just
Yeah,
want to
we-
make sure that we're not.
We had no concerns raised with this whatsoever, so.
We haven't received any complaints or anything.
So, but we're not typically going to the Humane Society on these kennel issues, and that's not something we want to do either. Is that right? Okay.
Different
I assume.
agency.
Well, that's why I was just, I know that was
Yeah.
a real
Yeah.
topic of conversation at the time, and I didn't know if any policy had changed regarding that, or we're strictly saying, hey, look, there's a state agency, it's their responsibility to keep in accordance with their requirements, and, that's outside of our scope, and I'm totally good with that, too. I was just bringing it up that was a concern at the time. So-
We just don't want one kennel to be specially scrutinized, and then the other kennel is,
Right.
I want all kennels to be treated equally.
That's right.
I want them all to be scrutinized.
I talked to a couple of the neighbors on that road, and
Uh-huh.
they said they didn't have any problem whatsoever with this kennel in the last 10 years.
And the Humane Society, as far as we know, is not proposing anything along those lines.
No.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
All right, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2019-27, a request to renew the special use permit for Country View Kennels for 10 years.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Voting?
Aye.
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 Commissioners, this is Resolution 2019-28, pardon me, 2019-28. This is a request from Ms. Davis to rezone her piece of property from I-3, which is heavy industrial, to rural residential. It appears as though in 1962, when the zoning map was initially created, this piece of property is very near the river. There is substantial floodplain in that area, and it looks like maybe they just used a paintbrush and painted it purple while this property has been used as a rural residence for a very, very long time. It's not completely inundated in the special flood zone, special flood hazard area. Staff does not believe that the I-3 zoning of this property is an appropriate zoning. We are supportive of her request to rezone it to a rural residential, which is what the property is used for and has been used for a very long time. The Planning Commission also supported that request and voted 8-0 with one member absent. I'll answer any questions that you, and the future comprehensive plan also labels this as a low-density rural residential zoning district, so this fits in with.
All right, we'll open the public hearing on this. From the heavy industrial to RR5, anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this? Anyone here wishing to speak in opposition of this zoning change?
Joe Herring, Herring Surveying, 315 North Fifth. Not really in opposition, more for clarification. Rezoning this between two industrial pieces, does that put any additional restrictions on the industrial being next to a residential? Like if you have business next to a residential zoning, they have bigger setbacks.
Those parcels
Screening.
that you are speaking of are also used for rural residences. We have reached out to those property owners and let them know that because they're in the same boat that Ms. Davis was in, she was looking to have her property refinanced, and when the bank called to get the zoning on it, they would not refinance it as a rural residence. So we've reached out to those property owners to let them know that theirs should also be rural residential. If they want to keep it as industrial, they certainly can.
But if they stay industrial and somebody comes in and says, I want to put an industrial use here, are they going to be held to higher restrictions because this property next door got rezoned?
We
That's
would
my
evaluate that at the time the application.
So your question is so the parcel to the north here that's labeled 6, if a industrial type company were to come in, are the requirements different on them now that they are adjacent to an R5?
Yeah, the one to the north or the one to the south, when it abuts that residential zone. Normally, there are specific setbacks, buffers, items they can't place next to the line. I just don't know if that's this case with that and if that's been addressed.
It's not planned industrial, so if something comes up, it's up to the planning commission and the board to put conditions on it.
And it seemed like that parcel to the north, it would make more sense to be R5, and then everything that, again, remains to the south
Yeah.
could continue industrial. It's large enough parcels that you wouldn't have to worry about the setbacks. But I get your point. If you went into 6 and tried to put an I3 type business in there, and then all of a sudden, there's not enough room to do so because of setbacks.
Again, a majority of it is floodplain, so it's limited property
Right.
space there.
These other
So
two
maybe probably
residences
not.
that you had
Maybe,
mentioned,
probably not.
Maybe
Are
Don't know
they-
the answer.
also
It could
zoned,
be.
are they in the comprehensive plan
It's residential.
as residential?
Yes, I believe so. I know one of them is for sure. I believe the second one is also.
Just everything north of the railroad track, it's all residential.
In the new, in the old or in the new one?
In the
that's
old
coming up?
complex.
They're probably gonna stay the
Existing.
same in the new one. Okay.
And I just wanted to point out that I'm in favor of this because I don't feel this is spot zoning. I feel this is contiguous to the residential 5-acre already, even though it's across the street. Because I don't feel you should zone differently on either side of the street. I think property should be one tier deep, the same zone on both sides of the street. So the reason I'm in favor of it is because it's the same zone they're asking for right across the street.
I figured you was gonna say that there'll be houses before there'll be businesses.
Something like that.
Okay. Any other questions while we have the public hearing? Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition of this? Then we will close public hearing and return to regular session. Now I entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve, let's see, where is this at? Request to rezone from I3 to R5. Resolution 2019-28.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? And Angel got its wings.
That's right.
Coming together.
Okay, any voting?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Just wanted to remind you of the comprehensive plan review
2
meeting.
o'clock today, Lance.
Is it 2 or 3?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, where?
Lansing
Lansing
Community
Community
Center.
Center.
no,
Okay.
the-
Jeff, do
2
when we
o'clock,
send those
Lansing.
communications out, we're doing it as just an email. We're not sending like a meeting invite where people could actually
Yeah,
accept it.
we-
We would
we
have a
did
clue.
send
it.
We did? Do we have any idea what the acceptance has been?
I think it was around 45 or 50 the last time. we checked.
Outstanding. Okay, great.
Don't quote me on that, but
Here, I'll write that.
I think that's pretty close.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Because it was at 3 in the basement at first.
Yeah, they had too many people.
Yes, too.
Yeah.
And it's in Lansing.
In Lansing at the community center, right in the basement.
Yeah. that's
Basement
what I-
City Hall.
That's what was on the.
2 o'clock.
Do we have anything else before we go to our executive session, other than some updates? I went to Bayshore City Council last week, and then several commissioners attended the Alliance Against Family Violence fundraiser dinner, and that is really taking off. It is really impressive, the turnout on that. I think they're going to give Linda, my Council on Aging, a run for her money on these fundraisers, because it was a sold-out crowd. I think they're going to need a bigger place next year to hold the event. I just want everybody to know the Alliance is up and running and doing well.
Yep.
And the Port Authority, is anybody going to be able to attend that?
Plan on.
Okay, all right, it's covered. You two will go? Okay, all right. That's all I have. Any other updates?
I just want to remind, we can remind next week as well, but the Veterans Day Parade is coming up.
Yep.
And the weekend before, there's a lot of activities that have been planned by the Veterans Day Committee, starting Friday evening. And I believe that it's Sunday afternoon that there will be a ceremony out here by the Doughboy that people might be interested in attending as well. And I think it's something that we all ought to participating. It's
Yes.
100th year, and the planning committee that has planned the activities have planned a lot of fun, neat things. There's going to be something at Richard Allen Cultural Center. There's going to be a downtown, like pub crawl. The Rotary is going to have on Monday morning pancake breakfast, free pancakes for
the
disabled
community
veterans
center?
at the community center.
Riverfront, okay.
The
Heritage Center's having something?
Yes, Heritage Center is having a dinner. The Historical Society is having a thing about the whole
I'll make sure to bring
celebration
that
and-
next meeting.
Yeah, if I brought my
Anybody else
phone
know?
in, I would
I don't
announce
have
all
it
of
on
it.
my
But I just
phone
want to get
either.
it on people's radar
I
to.
wouldn't my phone make it anyway.
There's a jazz band at the Old Hollywood Theater at 2.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on that day.
And
Starts Friday and goes.
starts
to
Friday and goes all the way through till Monday afternoon.
Monday night, uh-huh.
Anyways, anything?
You'd mentioned it before, but I attended Mayor Watkins' funeral was yesterday. It was a big turnout in
Yeah,
Easton.
gave a lot of years to the city of Easton.
It was packed.
Mental Health Task Force met last Thursday.
Oh, okay. Anything else?
A couple things. We had the President of the Senate was in Tonganoxie and gave a speech, and one of the things that came out of that is some of the folks that are concerned about their water down in the south part of the county, and we had indicated that's not really a county issue. She is taking that on to meet with those folks in Topeka with KDHE to talk about the concerns about the water. So I thought that was something productive that came from that meeting. The other thing I think we should visit about is the deal on the 4th, as far as the requirements.
Yeah, how do we handle that, or do we?
If we don't discuss county business and it's on our agenda, is that?
Well, Commissioners, I think you should expect that your invitation to attend as a county commissioner, there will be the inherent possibility that you will be asked about county issues. That is not really the problem. The issue in my mind is to avoid either the actual conduct of an open meeting or of a meeting in violation of the Open Meetings Act, or to give the appearance of having done so. A meeting is an interactive meeting of two, or excuse me, in this case, 3 commissioners. Since all of you have received an invitation, I'm not in any way counseling you not to attend. I would simply admonish you to be aware that the Open Meetings Act does apply, that you should refrain from any interaction with your fellow commissioners at that meeting, and you should make it clear that you are not there for the purpose of conducting any county business. In other words, either receiving input or providing indications of how you might possibly vote on certain issues. The idea being that any of your deliberative meetings need to be an open session. You can speak on general issues of the county, you can answer general questions of the county. I would caution you to avoid any specific cases that might be before your planning commission or any specific projects at your Department of Public Works. And I'm getting reinforcement on this message.
Another angel got its wings.
Jeff's playing in the band, so he's good.
I will simply ask you to exercise caution. I personally will be in attendance as well, and I will be watching each of you.
Okay.
I'll sit with you. So you can keep me out of trouble.
Well, I don't know how you can be, well, I guess if you speak but don't take questions.
You can take, it must be in the most general form. Do not discuss any specific cases, any specific projects. You may speak, for example, in support of economic development, but do not reference any specific project handled by either LCDC or the Port Authority or any of the cities. You are required to conduct all of your county business in open session. You are not prohibited from attending such meetings and generally discussing issues of general concern on the county level, but do not conduct an interactive business, and I, again, will be in attendance as well.
I think it's better if you didn't take any questions. If you speak, don't take any questions.
And certainly do not address your fellow commissioners.
Yeah, what do you think about that? No. No. Okay. All right,
Thank you.
thank you. And the parade, did we ever get that word on the Veterans Day Parade?
I'm going with
You're doing
the
that,
Suicide
you're
Prevention
gone?
Coalition.
Are you out of town?
No, I'm riding on the Republican
Okay.
float, I think. Were you gonna pull it or you get
Well,
somebody else
either
to do it?
Mr. Matthews or myself.
So I'm riding on that, as far
Okay.
as I know.
All right. You gonna be?
I have no idea.
I'm walking with the, or
All right.
driving
I'm
the
out of town, I'm in.
Suicide
Okay.
Prevention Coalition.
Chad's the one's out.
All right.
He's
So,
Dallas people, so.
all right, we'll figure it out.
That's down the road a bit.
Yeah.
Crystal
I guess we have another
Sneaking up
meeting
on us.
before then.
Yep,
We do have another meeting, but like I said, I plan on attending a lot of these.
Did anybody ever get back with her that, you know, just to make sure that,
No.
yeah, of who was and who wasn't?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, then, any other updates before we go to our executive session? Then I'll entertain a motion for the executive session.
I move that this board recess from open session and go into a closed executive session to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel as justified by KSA 75-4319B1, and that this board resume open session in this meeting room at 10:20.
Need 15 minutes?
Yeah.
10:20.
You need
10:20.
15 minutes?
I can just call it 10:30. I feel like we do this every time.
Okay,
10:30.
okay, at 10:30 a.m. Present in the executive session will be
We can always come back
Commissioners
early.
Jeff
Well, I
Culberson,
can see
Vicki
your
Cos,
computer.
Doug Smith, Chad Shimke, and Mike Steven, County Administrator Mark Lothry, and Senior County Counselor David Van Paris.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the executive session? Voting?
Aye.
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 Let the record
The fifth.
show we returned to regular session at 10:30. Executive session the topic was limited to non-elected personnel. No decisions were made. Any other business before us? Then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Voting.
All right.
Aye.
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 Thank you.